To exceed with noun を超える. Noun を超える. To use this, all you do is you have a noun, usually, not always, but very frequently, numbers. And what Quartet covers in the book is just numbers and percentages, pretty much. But you can use it in some other ways. It's always just that noun or that number plus the を particle and 超える, which means to go over, to go past, or to exceed. 長野県には標高3000メートルを超える山がたくさんある. So in Nagano Prefecture, there are many mountains that exceed 3,000 meters in elevation, or go over 3,000 meters in elevation. So let's break it down. We have Nagano-ken, so that's Nagano Prefecture, that's where we live. Niwa, so in Nagano-ken, and the wa emphasizes what comes next, and marks Nagano-ken as the topic. Hyoko is elevation, it's a common word. 3,000 meter, so elevation of 3,000 meters. を超える, so to go over 3,000 meters, or exceed 3,000 meters. 山が, so that 標高3000メートルを超える, that portion modifies mountain. The whole thing is describing mountain, yama. So mountains that exceed 3,000 meters in elevation. Ga, that's the subject now. たくさんある, there are many. So in Nagano Prefecture, there are many mountains that exceed or go over 3,000 meters in elevation. That's true. I think there's 14 to 17 of them. Yeah, there's quite a few. 北海道のじゃがいも生産量は25万トンを超える. So Hokkaido's potato production output is more than 250,000 metric tons. So breaking it down, we have 北海道のじゃがいも生産量. So 生産 is production, 量 is just the amount. So production output. 生産量, production output. So 北海道のじゃがいも is potatoes. 北海道のじゃがいも生産量. So Hokkaido's potato production output. Wa, that's the topic. 25万. So 25万 is 250,000. Ton. Ton is in Japanese usually used to refer to metric tons. So you know in American English, a ton is 2,000 pounds, I think. But a ton in most other languages is a metric ton, which I believe is just 1,000 kilograms, I believe. So this is 250,000 metric tons, which means it would be, add 3 zeros to that, 250 million kilograms maybe? Something like that. They put out a lot of potatoes from Hokkaido, basically. を超える. So it's more than that. More than 250,000 metric tons. 日本の小麦の海外輸入の割合は 80% を超えている. So Japan's foreign import rate of wheat exceeds 80%. 日本の, so Japan's wheat の海外輸入, 輸入 is import, so foreign import の割合, so the rate 割合 of foreign import of wheat in Japan or for Japan is, well, that's the topic, 80% を超える. It goes over 80%. I think it's closer to actually 90%. All right, the next one is 50% を超える市内の会社はテレワークを導入している. So more than 50% of the companies within the city are introducing telework. 50% を超える. So this is the beginning of our sentence now. It's different than our other ones, and that's modifying 市内. So 50%, 市内の会社, actually, it's modifying that whole thing. So over 50% is how you could read this. Over 50%. 50% を超える. Over 50% or more than 50%. 市内の会社, so companies within the city は, so that emphasizes what comes next. テレワークを, so telework を導入している. So 導入 is to introduce something. 導入している. So they're introducing telework. 海水の温度が29度を超えるとサンゴは死んでしまうそうです. So when the temperature of seawater exceeds 29 degrees, apparently coral dies. So some common words that aren't on the JLPT here, we have 海水, which is seawater, and サンゴ, which is coral. So 海水の温度, so the temperature of seawater が, that's the subject, 29度を超える. So exceeds 29 degrees. To, so that to is when. So when the seawater exceeds 29 degrees. Sango is coral. Wa, new topic emphasizing mostly what comes next. 死んでしまうそうです. Apparently they die. And that shimao is unfortunately or completely. So unfortunately, it seems that they die. Is another way you could think of this. 彼はメンバーが30人を超える大きいプロジェクトのリーダーになったことがある。So as for him, he's become the leader for large projects that exceed 30 members before. So this one is 彼は, so he is the topic. メンバーが, so members, and they're the subject. 30人を超える, so over 30 people. So members over 30 people or over 30 members. 大きいプロジェクトのリーダー. So a big project leader. So he was a big project leader on projects with over 30 members. になったことがある. So he has the experience of becoming a project leader for big projects that exceed 30 members. You can literally read this backwards. Like, has the experience of becoming a leader on big projects, 大きい project, that exceed 30 members. You can read it backwards, basically. All right, so that brings us to the dialogue, which we're going to have Yuki read for us. So let's get her over here. So this story, right? A lot of you, I think, are just hanging out tonight. So what's going on in this story is we had a young guy, probably around my age, and it started with him running towards work. He woke up late and he was running towards work, and he was trying to get there early, but the train tracks, the gate on the train tracks came down, and he was going to be late because that's his train that's going to be going by. And he's talking about how ever since that fateful day, it's been like he's hated by the gods. And this is basically that story. So like a year before that, he had gone to a drinking party, and on the way home with his junior, they saw a little purple shrine, which was weird because he knows that shrine. He passes it every day, and it's actually a very famous shrine, and it's not a little purple shrine. And they went in, and his coworker threw in a 5 yen coin, and he had no money left because he spent it all at the drinking party. So he threw in a game center ticket into the offering box at the shrine. And ever since that day, everything's been messed up. He doesn't remember anything after throwing that in. He woke up late for work and ran to work in the night before his clothes, and found out in the last lesson that his coworker, the one from the night before, had gotten a raise. And he was freaking out about it. So now we're continuing that story.
メールがようやく開いて読み始めた。真ん中あたりにこう書いてあった。君は今年遅刻した回数が10回を超えるから今月から給料を20万円から18万円に引き下げます。年末まで遅刻しなければまた20万円に引き上げましょう。マジか。とつぶやいてキーボードに頭をうずめた。
Alright, so you can read it one more time at full speed and I'll break it down.
メールがようやく開いて読み始めた。真ん中あたりにこう書いてあった。
The email finally opened and I began to read. Around the middle of the email, this was written. So, breaking it down. メールが, so mail is the subject. ようやく, finally. 開いて, so it finally opened. And 読み始めた. I began to read. 真ん中あたりに, so in around the middle, こう書いてあった。This was written, or something like this was written.
君は今年遅刻した回数が10回を超えるから今月から給料を20万円から18万円に引き下げます。年末まで遅刻しなければまた20万円に引き上げましょう。
So, just to give you some quick background on this, his coworker, his junior, got an email from the boss that said he got a raise. So I'm like, why the heck you don't do anything? Why did you get a raise? And then I'm like, well, maybe I got a raise. So I ran back to my computer, got a coffee stain on my shirt, and I'm reading that email now. And what it says is, the amount of times you've been late this year exceeds 10. So from this month, I will reduce your salary from 200,000 yen to 180,000 yen per month. We can know that based on the amounts. If you are not late until the end of the year, we will go ahead and raise it back to 200,000 yen again. So he's not getting a raise. Breaking it down, we have kimi wa. Kimi is someone above you is the only person that will ever use kimi. You're not going to use it for people above you or generally even to you. Either it's used talking down, generally by older people mostly, or people talking to their significant others sometimes. Anyway, 今年, so this year. 遅刻した回数, so the amount of times You were late. 遅刻 is to be late. 回数 is the amount of times. が that's the subject. 10回 10 times. を超える it exceeds 10 times. から so 今月から from this month. 給料 is your salary. を direct object. 20万円から so from 200,000 yen, which is about $1,800. Not $2,000. You can think of it easier. To 18万円 to 180,000 yen に引き下げます。So we're going to reduce it. 引き下げる is to reduce it. So we're going to reduce your salary from 200,000 to 180,000. 年末まで so until the end of the year 遅刻しなければ if you are not late until the end of the year また again 20万円に引き上げましょう So we'll go ahead and raise it up to 200,000 yen again if you're not late until the end of the year. And we know from the beginning of the story that he was. Anyway, from last year, what have you spent over on your hobbies or something you like? So for example,
私がチョコレートに使った金額は3万円を超える。
So the amount of money I've spent on chocolate or gone over spending on chocolate is 30,000 yen. So 私が me, that's a subject チョコレートに so in the direction of chocolate 使った金額 so the amount of money I used on chocolate は emphasizing what's coming next 3万円を超える it exceeds 30,000 yen. Next one is
去年バナナを買った金額も3万円を超える。
so the amount of money I spent on bananas last year was also 30,000 yen. So 去年 so last year バナナを買った金額 so the amount I bought of bananas も is also 3万円を超える it also exceeds 30,000 yen. So how about you? What amount did you exceed on your hobby or something you really like? And you can lie about this if you want. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to, if you're really embarrassed about it, you don't have to worry about it. But anyway, go for it. So our next section is to account for with noun を占める noun を占める It's just like the last section. You use it with generally numbers, mostly numbers and certain percentages of things a lot. It means to account for some number, to account for a certain percentage of something. Or I think we do have some examples on this one that aren't numbers, and you'll see what it can be used for there. But it's very simple to use. It's just the noun or the number plus を particle and 占める I almost said 超える there. 占める So our first example sentence is 人間の睡眠時間は1日の約3分の1を占める So as for a human's sleep time, it accounts for approximately 1/3 of a day. So breaking it down, we have 人間, so humans, 人間の睡眠時間, so the sleep time of humans は that's the topic. 1日の約3分の1, so approximately, that's the 約 part. 3分の1 means 1/3. When you're talking about like half or fourths or fifths or 1/3, if you have a fraction, it takes the bottom of the fraction, you put that first when you're saying it in Japanese. So 1/3 would be 3分. So bun is it's like one segment. So 3 segments, it's one of them. So 3分の1 or 3分の2 would be 1/3 or 2/3, etc. So 1/3 of one day. 1日の約 approximately 3分の1, 1/3 を占める. So it accounts for approximately 1/3 of a day, human sleep time. 海の広さは地球の71% を占めています. So as for the size or width of the sea, it accounts for 71% of the Earth's surface. And I have the surface here in gray because we don't actually have the surface in the Japanese, but it's understood, right? So 海の広さ, so the width of the sea or the size of the sea, wa? That's the topic. 地球の so the Earth's 71%, so 71% of the Earth, just the Earth really, を占めています. So it's 71% of the Earth. Now, that's not entirely accurate. It's not actually 71% of the Earth. It's 71% of the surface of the Earth, because if you go under the surface of the Earth, there's probably a lot more other junk than water. But it takes up 71% of the surface of the Earth. So 地球の71% を占めています. It is taking up 71% of the Earth surface. The surface part is understood here. 北海道が日本のじゃがいも生産量の8割を占めている. So we talked about Hokkaido's 生産量, their output of potatoes earlier, but we were just talking about the actual literal amount. It was 250 million kilograms, I believe. So 250,000 metric tons. This is a little bit different way of talking about it. So Hokkaido accounts for 80% of the production output of Japan's potatoes. So Hokkaido ga, that's the subject, Hokkaido. Nihon no jagaimo seisan ryo. So the production output of Japan's potatoes. No 8 wari. So this wari is interesting. It's always out of 10. So if you hear someone say 1 wari, it means 10%. If you hear someone say 5 wari, it means 50%. If you hear someone say 8 wari, it means 80%. So wari attached to 1 through 9 is a percentage of 10 or of 100, right? You can think of it like that. So 8 wari is 80% of 100%, right? So 8 wari wo shimeteiru. It accounts for 80% of the production of Japan's potatoes. 私の家族はよく食べるので、毎月の食費は私の給料の半分も占めている。So my family eats a lot. So our monthly food costs account for half of my salary. All right, breaking it down, we have 私の家族, so my family, は, they're the topic, よく食べる, so they eat well or they eat a lot. ので, so 毎月, every month, の食費, so every month's food costs. 食費 is food costs. は, that's the new topic, emphasizing what comes next. 私の給料の半分, so half of salary that is mine. So my salary, half of my salary を占めている. It accounts for half of my salary, or it makes up half of my salary is another way you could think of this. 日本の素材メーカーは世界中で高いシェアを占めている. So here we don't have an actual number, though we are abstractly talking about a number and just saying a large amount. But Japanese raw material makers account for a large share of the world's raw material makers. A lot of raw material is made for various different things in Japan. So 日本の素材メーカー. 素材 is raw materials. So meika is makers. So 日本の素材メーカー. So Japanese raw material makers は世界中, so around the world, で、utilizing the whole world or thinking of it in the whole world terms, 高いシェア, so a large share, a high share を占めている. They account for a large share of the world's raw material makers. All right, that brings us to the second part of the dialogue. Let's get Yuki over here to read the continuation of our story.
はい、この町で住むためには給料が18万円だと家賃と光熱費だけで半分くらいを占める。食費や電車代を考えると20万円の給料でも残りは少なかった。これから俺は生きていけるのかな。遅刻しないように努力するしかない。でもなぜか俺の電車はよく遅れてくる。どうしようかな。
大変だね。Alright, you can read it full speed and I'll break it down.
この町で住むためには給料が18万円だと家賃と光熱費だけで半分くらいを占める。食費や電車代を考えると20万円の給料でも残りは少なかった。
To live in this town with a salary of 180,000 yen, rent and utilities alone account for around half of it. When you consider food costs and train tickets, even with a salary of 200,000 yen, there was little left over. So breaking down konomachi de, so utilizing this town or in this town, the town is the specific thing we're worried about here. In this town, sumu tame ni wa, so for the purpose of living here, kyuryo ga, so the salary ga 18万円だと, so when a salary is 180,000 yen, 家賃と光熱費, so 家賃 is rent, and 光熱費 is utilities, heat, gas, water, things like that. 光熱費だけで, so only accounting for or only thinking of rent and utilities で半分ぐらいを占める, so about half our account of that salary, the 180,000 yen is accounted for. 食費や電車代を考えると, so when you think about 食費, so food costs, and 電車代, and things like food costs, the ya is things like food costs and train tickets 電車代を考えると20万円の給料でも even a salary of 200,000 yen 残りは少なかった。So there was little left over. 残りは少ない means little left. A small amount left. So even when you think about food costs and train costs, even 200,000 yen, there's only a little bit left at the end of the month with that salary.
これから俺は生きていけるのかな。遅刻しないように努力するしかない。でも、なぜか俺の電車はよく遅れてくる。どうしようかな。
I wonder how I'm going to get by from now on. I guess the only thing I can do is do my best to not be late. But for some reason, my train often comes late. What should I do, I wonder? So これから from now. 俺は so me. 生きていけるのかな I wonder if I can get by. 生きていけるのかな I wonder if I can go on. 遅刻しないように So in order to not be late, 努力するしかない So 努力 is to work hard to do something. Give effort, basically. するしかない There's nothing but that. でも but なぜか for some reason 俺の電車 So my train はよく often 遅れてくる It often comes late. どうしようかな What should I do, I wonder? Question time.
あなたの趣味や勉強や仕事をする時間は1週間のうち何時間を占めていますか？
So for your hobbies, 趣味 your study or your work, how many hours of 1 week does that account for? One of those things, your study, your hobby, or work. The first one was?
私のネットフリックスの時間は1週間のうち10時間を占めている。
So my Netflix time, about 10 hours of a week are accounted for. So 私のネットフリックスの時間 So my Netflix time は1週間のうち So in 1 week, 10時間を占めている。10 hours of my week are accounted for by my Netflix time. The next one is?
ゲーム(ESO) の時間は1週間のうち15時間を占めている。
1週間のうち15時間を占めている。So it's the same as the last sentence, right? ゲームの時間は So you don't have to have 私 You could just have ゲームの時間 So game time, in this case ESO 1週間のうち10時間も占めている。It accounts for, and that's my game time, accounts for 15 hours of my week, of 1 week. So you can have the same exact pattern, just the thing you're doing, your hobby or your studying or work, and how many hours of your week it accounts for. Let's go ahead and move on to although with nagara. This nagara is different from the nagara we learned back in, I believe we learned it in Quartet 1, maybe in Genki 2, I can't remember exactly. But that original nagara that we learned means, while doing this. This does not mean that. This nagara means although something. So although I'm doing this thing, and it is very frequently used with the te-iru form of verbs, keep that in mind. Although I'm doing this thing, something else happens. So it means although. You can also use it with e-adjectives, non-adjectives, just on its own. And nouns, between the noun and nagara, we need deari. So, 結婚式でありながら. So, although it's a wedding, 結婚式でありながら something something. 結婚式でありながらみんな T シャツを着てる. So even though or although it's a wedding, everyone's wearing T-shirts. Something like that, right? Although. It's not while this, that. It's although. So a little bit different. Let's go ahead and take a look at some examples. 彼女はたくさん本を読んでいながら読めない漢字が多い. So although she is reading a lot of books, actually, there are many kanji she can't read. So 彼女は, so she たくさん本を many books を読んでいながら. So 読んでいる、読んでいながら. So although she is reading many books, 読めない漢字. So 漢字 she can't read が多い. There are many kanji she can't read. 友達はたくさんお菓子を食べていながら全然太らない. So although my friend is eating a lot of candy, he doesn't gain any weight. So 友達, my friend, はたくさんお菓子. So eating, so lots of candy を食べていながら. Although he's eating a lot of candy, 全然太らない. He doesn't gain any weight. お父さんはメガネをかけていながらまだ目が見えない. So although my father is wearing glasses, he still can't see. お父さん is the topic. メガネをかけていながら. So although wearing, かけて it's the 定義 form again, glasses. So although wearing glasses, my father, まだ still, 目が見えない. He still can't see. This sentence is the old nagara to contrast the last sentence. So お父さんはメガネをかけながら新聞を開いた. So while my father sorry, it should be was. While my father was putting on glasses, he opened the newspaper. お父さんはメガネをかけながら. So かけていながら. So he already has them on. You can already tell from it being the teiru form that it's probably going to be the although nagara. You maybe will only know for sure after the next part of the sentence. So, but kake nagara is while he's putting on his glasses. Shinbun wo hiraita. So he opened the newspaper. So that's a little bit different than the last one, right? お父さんはメガネをかけていながらまだ目が見えない。So although he's wearing glasses, he still can't see. お父さんはメガネをかけながら新聞を開いた. He opened the newspaper while he was putting on his sunglasses. Or his regular glasses, I guess. 着信に気づいていながら電話に出なかった. So although I noticed the phone was ringing, I didn't answer. So 確信 is the phone ringing. に気づいていながら. So although I noticed that the phone was ringing, 電話に, so in the direction of the phone, 出なかった. I didn't answer. 出る, 電話に出る means to answer the phone. 電話に出なかった. I didn't answer the phone. アメリカ人でありながら英語の文法があんまりわからない. So although I am an American, here we have a noun finally. Although I'm an American, I don't really understand English grammar well. So アメリカ人でありながら. So between a noun and this ながら we need であり. アメリカ人でありながら. So although I am an American, 英語の文法. So English grammar. が, that's the subject. あんまりわからない. I don't really understand it. I'm sorry. あまりわからない. I always say あんまり, which is a more conversational version of it. So あんまりわからない. I don't really understand English grammar well, which is true. I'm not really that great at English grammar. I'm better at understanding and explaining Japanese grammar, I think. Anyway, I think that's normal for people who have actually learned a second language. I feel like people who learn a second language, generally speaking, this is very general, but tend to understand the grammar of the second language a little bit more because they've actually paid attention to it. But that's just sort of a random guess of mine. I don't know if it's true. No empirical evidence that I've collected on that. Just my own experience. 彼は若いながら難しい手術も成功させる優秀な医者です. So although he is young, he is an outstanding doctor who can successfully complete difficult surgeries. So 彼は, so he, 若いながら. So here you have an e adjective. 若いながら. Although he is young. 難しい手術, so difficult surgery. も also 成功させる, so he can complete he can succeed or complete difficult surgeries. 優秀な医者です. So this whole thing, 難しい手術も成功させる優秀な医者. That whole thing modifies 医者, doctor. So he's a outstanding 優秀 doctor who can also succeed at difficult surgeries. です。このいちごは小ぶりながら甘くてみずみずしいです。So although this strawberry is smallish, it's sweet and juicy. このいちご, this strawberry, that's the kanji for strawberry, and it's pink, so it looks like a strawberry. That was not intentional, but は小ぶり means smallish or small in size. Sort of small. You can think of it like smallish. ながら, andながら. I think it's an adjective, so that's why we can have ながら with nothing between it. So このいちごは小ぶりながら甘くて it's sweet and みずみずしいです. みずみずしい means juicy. みずみずしいです. Although the strawberry is smallish, it's sweet and juicy. I think this is our last one. So Quartet also introduces some expressions that use nagara. There's a few of them. One of the most common ones you're going to hear is this one, and it's 残念ながら. So it uses nagara. It's not exactly the exact same nagara. It doesn't mean although here, but it comes from the same nagara. So I think they introduced it here together with this nagara. And 残念ながら means unfortunately. 残念ながら見たかったアニメの時間に間に合いませんでした. So unfortunately, I didn't make it in time for the anime I wanted to see. 残念ながら, unfortunately, 見たかったアニメ. So the anime I wanted to see. の時間. So the time of the anime I wanted to see. に, in that direction, 間に合いませんでした. I did not make it on time. 間に合う means to be on time for something. That brings us to the next section of our story. It's not going to finish this week. Maybe by the end of lesson 10, I'll be able to finish this short story. But
あの日から3回も遅刻してしまった。今日で4回目になる。すでに給料は16万円に引き下げられてしまった。毎日遅刻しないように早く出発していながら、まるで呪われているように偶然なハプニングが起きて、電車に間に合うか間に合わないかの時間になる。向かってきている電車を見て飛び込もうとした。走り出そうとした瞬間、ズボンが何かに引っかかって、裾から股までほころびた。俺は周りを気にせず、大声で呆れ笑いをして、家の方に向かってゆらゆらと歩き出した。
はい。Okay, we'll read it full speed and I'll break this whole thing down.
あの日から3回も遅刻してしまった。今日で4回目になる。すでに給料は16万円に引き下げられてしまった。
After that day, I was unfortunately late 3 times. Today will be the 4th time. I've already had my salary reduced to 160,000 yen. So, あの日から, from that day or after that day. 3回も, as many as 3 times, 遅刻してしまった. I was late, unfortunately. 今日で, so from today or as of today, 4回目になる. So at the beginning of the whole story back in lesson 9 point something, remember he was running to work and he got stuck at the train tracks as the gate came down and his train is about to go in front of him. So 今日で4回目になる. This will be my 4th day late. すでに給料, so already すでに給料, that's salary は16万円に引き下げられてしまった. So unfortunately my salary was reduced to 160,000 yen already. お願いします。
毎日遅刻しないように早く出発していながら、まるで呪われているように偶然なハプニングが起きて、電車に間に合うか間に合わないかの時間になる。向かってきている電車を見て飛び込もうとした。
大変だ。So although I depart early every day in order not to be late, as if I am cursed, chance happenings occur, and I barely make it on time for the train. I looked at the approaching train and tried to jump. The story's just taking me where it goes. I'm not choosing these things. They're just coming out of my brain. Anyway, 毎日, every day, 遅刻しないように, in order not to be late, 早く出発していながら. So although I am leaving early, 早く出発していながら. Although I'm leaving early, in order not to be late every day, まるで is foreshadowing this ように. So together they mean まるで it's like, it's making a metaphor basically. So まるで呪われているように, as if I've been cursed. に偶然な so 偶然 means coincidental or chance happenings. Happening means happenings, events, things happening が起きて, so chance happenings occur. 電車に so in the direction of the train 間に合うか間に合わないかの時間になる. Remember we covered this ka a couple lessons ago. I think it was lesson 8 or 9 and it means barely. So barely make it on time. So 電車に間に合うか間に合わないかの時間. It's the time where I barely make it to the train. 向かってきている電車を見て I looked at the train coming. 飛び込もうとした. 飛び込む is an N2 word. It means to jump. So 飛び込もうとした. I tried to jump at the train.
走り出そうとした瞬間、ズボンが何かに引っかかって、裾から股までほころびた。俺は周りを気にせず、大声で呆れ笑いをして、家の方に向かってゆらゆらと歩き出した。
走り出そうとした。The moment I tried to start running, my pants got stuck on something and tore from the cuff to the crotch. Without paying attention to those around me, I laughed at the stupidity of it all, turned towards home, and swaying back and forth, I began to walk. So 走り出そうとした瞬間 So the moment 瞬間 I went to run. I tried to run. ズボンが So my pants が何かに in something 引っかかって So they got stuck in something 引っかかる It means to get stuck 引っかかって裾 So suso is the hem. It can be of a shirt like this part or pants 裾からmata is crotch So you can assume it's the suso is the pants 裾から股までほころびた So ほころびる means to tear Generally clothes, right? On a seam or something. So they tore from the bottom of my pants up to the top. 俺は so me 周りを気にせず So without thinking about or worrying about anyone around me 大声で So with a big voice 呆れ笑いをして So I laughed at the stupidity of it all 呆れ笑い I translated it as laughed at the stupidity of it all But 呆れ笑い is laughing in astonishment at something silly or stupid or just scoff 家の方に So in the direction of home 向かって So I turned in the direction of home ゆらゆらと So swaying back and forth 歩き出した So this whole section sort of calls back to the very first section of this story because he was walking yura yura aruki dashita and he was happy that time. I don't need to tell you what I was thinking here, but this whole section is a callback to the very first section as I'm trying to wrap up the story, but the story just keeps getting out of my control and going in a new direction. I don't know. I'm having fun with it. But anyway, he's safe. He's walking towards home. All right, question time.
勉強を頑張っていながらまだ〇〇できないという形で悩みを教えてください。
So please tell us something you're worried about or confused about or, sort of not sure what to do about because, 悩み。勉強頑張っていながら although you're working hard studying まだ何々できない I still can't do something. And those things could be something like
勉強を頑張っていながらまだ漢字が読めない。
Even though or although I'm studying hard, I still can't read kanji. まだ漢字が読めない。
たくさん勉強していながらまだ日本人の友達ができない。
So even although I'm studying たくさん even though I'm studying a lot, so you don't have to use exactly this form. So たくさん勉強していながら even though I'm studying a lot, まだ日本人の友達ができない。Still can't make any Japanese friends. So how about you? Thumbs up を攻撃してください. Please smash the thumbs up button. チャンネル登録お願いします. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell so you know when we go live. Next time, thank you so much for hanging out with us on this birthday live stream. We hope to see you next time. Next week is Lesson 10 Part 3. Bye bye! Thank you!
また来週。
ありがとうございました。お疲れ様でした。
お疲れ様でした。
Bye bye! Planning to use these books to learn Japanese in 2022? We explain all the grammar from these books and more here on YouTube in detail. And on TokiniAndy.com, we have tons of extra grammar explanations, interactive practice exercises with Yuki and I, native shadowing exercises so you can get practice speaking even when you're by yourself, tests, and even progress bars to track your progress through the book. We also plan on beginning to add tons of level-appropriate immersion material throughout 2022. We even have a new exclusive community for members where they can ask questions, help each other, and even play silly Japanese word games. Over 1,800 people have already utilized the TokiniAndy and Yuki premium content. Join the community today and kickstart your Japanese learning journey.